Men do pay attention, ladies. Do not misunderstand. And real good men, a man that really wants the best for you, it takes real love to step aside. Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Purpose and Powerful Podcast. Tonight we're talking about life after the one who got away. I am your host, Erica Lester, and I'm here with my co-host, Wilson. So, life after the one got away. What are we exactly talking about here? This is where you have had a love in the past, whether it's a life lesson love, or you've learned more about yourself years later, or looking back in reflection about that love and the elements of the relationship, you've not been quite able to have that same connection, that same brightness, that same star appeal in your relationship since then. And now that you're more seasoned, you're a little bit more of a veteran in love, and you're saying, man, I think that person was the one, or there were traits in that relationship that you have not been able to embody, embrace, and see yet again in your loves since then. That's what we're talking about this evening. Have you had any experience or have experienced anything like that? It doesn't have to be your relationship, like, oh, I want to be back with her, but just, oh man, I really like that. And that was really nice. And that was the first time I recognized I really like that trait in a relationship.
You asking me?
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's different. I mean, it's going to be pros and cons with any relationship, especially if you've decided to date someone or get close. So I would say yes. If you're asking some of the things, the characteristics I like someone who's really thoughtful, nice. I would say a little sentimental, but also very focused. So when someone's really focused, it helps in kind, patient. A lot of those traits I have also found in my wife. The difference is some of the other people is they might have had multiple relationships. That was kind of the difference. Wow, I kind of let some of these people get away. It wasn't just because I allowed it. I allowed them to get away. So when I look back, that's what happened. And sometimes it's not a bad thing when you talk about letting the person get away, because sometimes it's better to be by yourself while you're getting prepared for the right person, so that you don't continue to have a series and sequence of multiple relationships. So it's not always the bad thing. So we can also address both sides of this coin in this episode. I would love to do that.
Absolutely. Now, I can personally say, looking back, there was a time that I don't know, by the time I realized it was 15 to 20 years later, and he knows who he is, that he proverbially is probably the one that got away, but not in the sense of, man, I want to be back together, but just in, okay, getting back together is not possible, right? For many different reasons. But I can truly say, how I describe it is, I like the version of myself in that relationship, like everything about it. And I learned the most in the relationship. One, because I believe with him being older, he was more patient with me in the process. Very loving, caring, still a friend today, but just I feel like because that was probably my first true love situation, like adult love, that's why I probably held on to more of the traits in that relationship. And because he's been consistently the same as a person, that's helped me define him as the one who got away. So there was a bar, right? There was this setting, and then looking back, he elevated the bar and it's never come down. And actually, I would even say I lowered the bar, even in the marriages that I had, in order for there to be the possibility. But even after my divorces is when I really understood man, they were never at his level.
Interesting. Well, thank you for that. Well, I have a real big question for you. Looking back, what do you think were the reasons why the relationship didn't work? I mean, not getting too deep, but just one or two reasons, because this is very intriguing.
So we've had the conversation. The issue for me was I was 19 and he was 26.
Okay.
And so we got about 7.5 years difference between us. And for me, when we had the conversation, maybe 5-6 years ago, I was like, I wanted to become the woman that I thought I wanted to be when I was with you. And he was like, I never needed you to be anybody than who you were, because who you've become is who I knew you would always be. It's like, wow.
Oh.
And I was just like, because there were so many perfecting elements in a sense. Like he said, I knew that you were younger and we're going to have to go through a couple of bumps in the road with that. But ultimately, he made the decision to not push the issue because he was like, I needed it to be your choice. Meaning, I didn't want you to look 5-10 years down the road and be like, I don't want this. Like he wanted me to be very certain. And there were some things going on in his life that he felt what he didn't really want me to go through or to put me through those things. So it was love and protection on both sides. Love in the sense that I want to give you the best of me. I think we both came to the situation of, I want to give you the best of who I am and who I think I'm going to be. And right now I'm not in my full form, but I love you though. I mean, and that love had evolved through many years, a friendship that has tested time, has been there, for each other in multiple ways, but from a respect situation, right? Was never, oh, I'm with you and I'm with my boyfriend and with my spouse. And no, we didn't have that, but just more of less, just always being honest with each other, right? Always being true to each other and saying, I feel about you in this way. And for him, it's like he says, I never look at it like you were the one that got away, because we've always been connected in each other's lives, but more or less that I recognize that because we would have the connection, I never looked at it like we would have a loss.
Right. I like that point. I like that perspective.
Right.
So I don't see it as he got away, but it's someone, what I'm hearing, and correct me, is what you're looking for, what you hope to find one day, is someone who fits some of these attributes and traits, characteristics with your future soulmate.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, so it's almost the best of both worlds. You have a friend who you can use as a model and a standard. However, he didn't lose. He didn't get away. It created a framework and it showed you the possibilities of what could be true. Now, I have a better question. Well, I don't say better question, but one that I want to kind of take off the garment right now. I'm ready for you to go transparent. What happened to him? Because when you say get away, is he married? Is he in a relationship?
He is married. He's been married for 20 years.
Okay.
18. So yes, but when I had the opportunity to be the missus, but I didn't really look at it in that way. Again, I wanted to be in a arrived form, in a polished state, when I said, this is that. And here's the thing. I said to him, now I am not big on a man's words in terms of that. I listen to your words, I look at your actions, I study your patterns of behavior. But for me, with him, it's a unique relationship, because I said, you know what? I would have followed you anywhere. That's how much I loved you. And I knew that the words that you would tell me weren't something that you were just blowing smoke at me. I knew you meant what you said. You have always been honest with me. And so I just needed you to tell me how you really felt, because I was feeling the same way. So not having a conversation, even though we really knew we cared about one another, not having the conversation or being fearful of rejection in some way, like, I do feel you like this, but I don't really want to be with you like that, staved off the possibility. So one day out of the blue, he was trying to have this very serious conversation with me over the phone, and I was not having it in terms of I wasn't focused. I wasn't sitting down. I wasn't taking this. He was asking me some very serious questions, but I wasn't taking it as serious as I normally would. Like I wasn't. He said, "Well, what do you think about if it was me and you?" And I was like, "That would be too perfect." Now, the setup and the situation was really that we both were seeing people, but we weren't that serious with seeing those other people, not aggressively so. So
Right.
I was like, well, I don't really like that because I don't want to be that chick. I don't want to be that girl. So in my mind, I was like, I wouldn't want to do that to someone, but now understanding what his position truly was and how he felt about me. He was trying to discern and decide where he was going to be, looking at his long-term plan, looking at where not just the short run, how I feel about this girl called Erica, but just I know how I feel about her. And I think she feels that way about me. But so he was asking me these very serious questions. I didn't need the questions. We had very deep and profound conversations. And there are times when we will still do that. I didn't need him to be deep. I didn't even need him to be profound. I just needed him to say, look, girl, I love you. This is how I feel about you. This is what it is. And I want to be with you. And I would have said yes.
Really?
I would have.
But
But that's unique because I wouldn't say yes to any man, but I would have said yes to him because I knew what I had in him. I
but you
believed in the love I had for him.
true, but you did say that you didn't you weren't ready for him. You didn't feel that you were, I don't know, woman ready enough, not woman enough, but ready enough in your potential state to feel comfortable, and I don't know if that's the right word, to be with him because he was a little older and you wanted to make sure that you had your stuff where you wanted to be. Is that what? Because I'm hearing a couple of things. I'm hearing that you were ready. If he would have just said if he had the key words, the key communication, you would have done it. But I'm also hearing that you had a resistance or something on you that you might not realize because men hate rejection even more than women. Who do you think's egos are bigger, men or women?
Men's egos are bigger. And this particular scenario, I did have an ego. I wanted to arrive on my own in my own packaging to become the woman that I had had already decided that I needed to become. And it was a little intimidating. He is very intelligent, handsome. There is not a woman that's not going to find him.
But you're missing where I'm going with this.
Well, no, I'm
You answered
saying.
the question. So you answered the question. I asked you one question because I'm bringing it home.
Absolutely.
Who has the bigger ego, man or woman?
I believe men have the bigger ego, but in our relationship, I had the biggest ego.
Because the reason I say this is because if you have that ego and you're projecting that, he doesn't want the rejection, especially if he can get any woman he wanted and he has all of these things. So people don't, it rather bothers a person when people win achievements, when they're a high achiever. What's the biggest thing that high achievers always think about what they lost? They don't really because they got what they have. They have all the awards, but they always think about that one extra thing that they couldn't achieve or have. And he did not want to risk putting himself out there and you rejecting him. Number one, you're younger. Number two, he knows he's a little ahead. So it's kind of not saying a slap in the face, but for that man to know that he could offer you everything and choose you over others. You didn't show enough and intentionally didn't show enough because you didn't feel that you were ready. So yes, I can understand in the mindset that he's now with someone else who made him feel comfortable to not get rejected. See, and I'm not just talking to you right now, Erica. I'm talking about women, period. It's a lot of women that allowed, because of their ego or because of an insecure, whatever it was, let somebody else escape with theirs. And it's real. I mean, it happens a lot. You can't go backwards. You can't clean up a broken glass. Once it happens, it happens. You can't say, well, dang, I didn't know that I was the glass. Now it's dropped. Because no one, sometimes when it's yours, lesson in the future, and you know it, put the ego aside because that same ego could make it where you lose the person once you're together.
Right.
You don't understand that ego thing, single or in a relationship, it can knock you out. And then now you're backpedaling in a marriage on your bending knees saying, I'm sorry, babe, I'm sorry. Now it's even more at stake. So I feel that ego is big, but I feel like it's kind of an emotional opportunity cost, in a way lost, that
Yeah.
you're experiencing opportunity, because you know, and this is just so you know, moving forward, and ladies who are on this call, let go everything else, because if that's the right man for you, I promise you, it won't matter. It won't matter who said I love you first. Why? I told you with Takesha, she didn't say all those things, because you already know, even if it's not the right person for you, there's so many more women than men in terms of the options. So sometimes, a lot of times, men want that security emotionally. We're big babies. I don't care what any man tells you. You can hide behind his accomplishments, his muscles, whatever. It doesn't matter. Men do not want to be alone. And I can prove it. You ready? Men hate being alone more than women. Check it out. Breaks up with somebody, divorce. What happens within them? I mean, it's
Quick,
like,
they're together quick, boot
right,
up quick.
married. I mean, you don't even, you thinking, what the heck is going on? You
Yeah.
almost thinking he must have had that person within that time.
Right.
Women, they do it, but it's more frowned upon. So they take their time, especially if they have children. They don't want to just jump into something, shack up. They don't want to do it. But I'm telling you that despite of all your accomplishments and everything, we all have to get our egos under control. And this is a valuable lesson, because then we will feel like something get away. So the bottom line is, whatever you think or don't, you're right. You didn't feel that you were ready, so you were right. And he said it. He's not going to be the one to push you when he's saying this is a good thing right here, and you not ready. Loved you from afar, but now this other person gets the trophy that was yours. And it's tough. And look, it's not right to say it now, is it? I mean, he's married now, but
We've talked about it.
I'm sure. And gentlemen, and sir, I know you on this call. I hope you get to see this one day, because only you know who you are. Because be some other guys out here assuming it's them, but they know that it's not fitting this framework of what we're talking about right now.
Right.
So you had to go through 2 marriages as a result of ego. Is that what I'm trying to really just get this whole perspective in. But the ego, people don't, and I appreciate you being honest, because a lot of women don't do that. They play victim. They say, he led me on, now he with this other woman, I didn't know. But you said you knew, but you wanted him to present it a certain way, and he did not. He did not, because he was afraid of the rejection, and he loved you and wanted you so much that rejection could have sent him downwards. And men are not going to talk about this. He would have never recovered. It's a heartbreak before it even got started. It's the rejection. I hope I'm teaching you something that you didn't know. Men can't take rejection. I prove it. That's why men will settle for less. Because in their mind, they believe that woman won't reject them or leave them and would be happy with it. They don't like to be alone. They don't want to be rejected. And that's why they always want people around them. It's not always the sex. They just want all of these people around them, telling them how great he. That's the ego. It's the flesh. Well, I think that if you would have been the one to step up at your youth, it would be a different situation.
Absolutely. I already know he would have been an amazing husband. I mean, he is an amazing husband.
Right. You get to see from afar. Now you get to see it on TV.
Yeah. But I feel like the thing really was, I just didn't know what I had, but I did. I mean, I knew how I felt about him. I didn't know what I had in him, meaning I was missing the piece. And I've said this to him, just in the same way you're saying, I'm saying to him, I didn't push the issue because I didn't want to know that you didn't love me the way I loved you. I didn't want to face the rejection of it, the possibility that we did not share the same feeling, although we could be right there and everything had been intense. And it's something that I've had to kind of release over the years, because the reality is, let's keep it 100. I don't feel that I will meet a man of that particular caliber in the same way, at the same level, only because it was a unique one time around the sun situation. Now, I can be an amazing man and all of those things, but it would have been far easier and better to say, hey, babe, we've been together 30 years, like that, when that time came. So, but I'm so proud of him. I mean, his accomplishments, he is the man I knew he always was. He's continued to be that man. I love him still. We just can't be together. And I respect it. I respect that he is who I've always known him to be. Like, it's one thing for you to be like, he's supposed to be my husband or whatever like that. And then you see that their life isn't really turning out the way you thought it would be with you. And I never looked at his life like she's living the life with the husband I'm supposed to be with.
Right.
Because again, the connection that we still have, the friendship we have is so strong that having him in my life is a blessing anyway. But just saying that, it may not have worked out for me in the area of love up to this point with the different things, but I'm still here. I'm still that woman, and I know that I'm going to attract it. And if nothing more, because I've had that love and know how to recognize that, it makes me pick up those great qualities a lot better and sooner than I would if I was jaded, like he's supposed to be with me, like that. So I've learned from it. I've grown from that love. That love grew me up in a lot of ways. It just so happened to be that I learned that early in my adult life, so that it's kind of bittersweet, and it makes it harder for a man to meet that particular level when they're dealing with me. And it didn't help that I became even more accomplished and even more self-aware as the years would go by. But to truly know that there was this point in time, so I was 19, he was 26, and then here I was 30, and we met and had met for dinner or lunch or something, and he just stopped and said, he was smiling so broadly, he was like, right now you are the woman I knew you would become. And he's like, I'm so proud of you. And that was like such a high compliment. And I'm like, you know what? And I had to own that. I was always that woman, even at that age. And I mean, he could tell me things that he said, you remember you told me you wanted to go to business school, you wanted to go to engineering. He remembered all those conversations. And so it's good. So men do pay attention, ladies. Do not misunderstand. And real good men, a man that really wants the best for you, it takes real love to step aside. Because I've actually become more loving and more aware of this man and more respectful of the man, to say, despite what he felt for me, even though he wanted to be with me and he watched me through doozies of situations, to sit on the sideline and watch me grow and blossom and not interfere or tell me, oh, you need to do this, or you don't need to be with him, or berate me in any way. He's always had my back. He's always held it down for me. He's always made me see a very positive, growing, learning adult person, even when I was making mistakes. Like, he never made me feel like I couldn't get it together and go forth and prosper. Always held me down. So I appreciate him for that. He knows that. But that love is unconditional. That's some true unconditional love. And I would just be over the moon to even have my future partner just to have my back like that support system.
So these are
It's just would be huge for me.
God forbid, because I'm gonna close up with a couple questions, but I'm curious about a couple of them, so I'm just gonna ask and you can answer. First question is, did he ever have any children?
He had a son. His son grew to be 22, 23, and unfortunately he died, which is rough. And I always said to him, and this is no lie, I was like, if I can't find or it doesn't work out, I don't want to go to a sperm bank. Can I get your sperm? And there were years in there that he probably would have entertained me. But with the death of his son, that was an unequivocal no. Like, can't do it.
But wait a minute. You're talking about after he was married, you were asking him
no, before he was married, and I'd always said, hey, would you father a kid for me, whatever. He was like, I think he would have been open to the possibility. Now that's some nuance. I wouldn't ask him that in his marriage, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying that's just how much of a father I felt like he was, how much of a man I felt like he is, to have, like, to say, we could produce great kids together. And, if the cards just didn't pan out for me, but that is the thing. And I said this to him. I said, I knew that I cared about you when I knew that I was in love with you. Was something was so intimate. Was like we were on the phone one day and his son was 4 years old and he was putting him to bed and I heard him do the night prayer and that touched my heart so much. And that's kind of when I knew that I started to fall in love with him for that, because it was like, that is just the most precious time. Most people will say, let me call you back. And he shared that with me.
He wanted you to see that.
Yeah, it was so profound. He shared that with me. And that always stayed with me. But like I said, he's always been consistent. So I never had to say, I wonder how he thinks about me. I wonder how he feels about me. It was just always something that never would connect us to sit down really and have the conversation and say, let me tell you how I feel about you. Let me tell you what I'm thinking. And that conversation would have saved us both years of waiting to have the conversation, to dissect it and see. And I mean, I was in tears when I recognized that it's always been you. I said, it's always been you, like the whole time. The man I've loved the most, the man that I've always wanted to be with, has always been you. And I'm saying, I get that we both got married and all that. It's always been you, and not that I'm trying to break up a home, but just more or less, you have the traits that I've always needed in my partner.
I'm gonna take this to another level as we wrap up, because we may have to do another one of this. And this is something that people talk about, but don't really talk about.
No.
If it's okay, we conclude like this. So because this can be another series coming on. This is very intriguing. And you're speaking not just for yourself, but a lot of women and men who go through this. See, it's one thing when you have a relationship where you meet somebody and you're already married and you meet somebody new and you say, wow, if I would have I got with this person first, you're amazing, but it's too late. This is a situation where you have, let's say, first right of refusal.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, it's just different. It usually doesn't work like this. It's usually the other way around. So I'm not trying to hear me. I'm not beating you up. I hope you can receive.
No, you're fine. It's cool.
But this is not just about us. It's about our listeners and viewers, that they need to understand that there is an emotional opportunity cost that one has to pay, whether they do it or they don't. And the question is, are we going to allow our egos, our insecurities, our own thinking, our own doubts, lack of faith? Is it worth it to not risk it, to get what you always wanted or always deserved? If you're going to shoot high. If you're going to go for it and you don't want to settle, it's worth it. Because if it doesn't work out and you're with someone that wasn't even up to standard, that you lowered your bar, and that's a divorce, how does that feel? If you're going to get a divorce or you're going to go all out, and I always tell my daughter, make it count. Because hurt is hurt. But it's worse when it's somebody that really you settled for. You compromised. You made all these extra arrangements and it still didn't work. I don't see how that, to me, makes any sense. You see, do you follow me now? If you look back, because you're talking about 2 divorces and you're cool, you're friends with these people, but it's also easy to be friends with people when you know that they're not right for you. It's always easy. I mean, it's not as easy when you know that you really still want to be with the person. You can tell that there's no way that you would go back to either one of those relationships. I would say, and the other question is, and we'll end with this. This is a little spicy. I don't know if anybody has some chicken or whatever, a vegan burger, but this is some spicy stuff we're going to end with. My question to you is, if he were, God forbid, were to lose his wife or it didn't work out, and would you wait? I mean, of course you're going to be his friend. You're always a friend. And you weren't with anyone. What would you do?
We've had that conversation. So we both know this is the truth. This is God's ever truth. So unless, I'm going to tell you, well, I can say this with 99%, well, 97% certainty that would be really sad. And I wouldn't swoop in. It would have to be a natural gravitation. But let's keep it real. I wouldn't care about some other man in the universe if the man that I know, that I love and care about, that loves and cares about me, and I don't have to reintroduce myself. It's that would be the natural order of things. That would be
Meaning you
crazy
would wait.
for us to not try at that
But
time.
I'm talking about you. Would you even
No,
bring?
I'm talking about me.
All right, don't put. Okay.
I'm saying that if, God forbid, if something happens to that man, I am not married. And I said married, not dating, because dating is,
Right.
what are we doing here? I'm not married. This man is available. He's gone through his period of grieving and we're still connected. Oh, he already know he's my husband.
Well, let me just say this. I don't see you letting him grieve by himself. So the people he's going to gravitate to, and usually that's how it works.
No, I wouldn't do it. No.
Right.
So here's what the reason why he could grieve on his own is because you have to remember he watched me grieve through 2 different divorces and he just swoop in and save the day.
Well, I'm talking about, but no, he was married.
Yes, but that's just say there was a point in time where there was touch and go in his marriage, right? They weathered a storm. We didn't violate that.
You said you did not?
We did not. We did not violate the fabric of that. And I'm saying that, was I hurt that he was hurt? Yes, absolutely. And it was a vulnerability like no other seen, but it made me love him even more and respect him that much more, right? So, but this man has heard me, seen me cry over these men that are not part of my life. And again, I wouldn't scoop in on that, but I really feel 98% certain that we would be back together, like in a real form. See, we never got that opportunity, but knowing what we know, knowing who we are, he doesn't have to explain himself who he is to me. And likewise, that would just be like ridiculous and crazy to not take a chance.
Okay.
And there's no need to date, really. We would be like, let's just go down to this courthouse and make this happen for real, because it would make no sense. So unless God says to me, no, you're gonna stay like this, I don't see why I wouldn't, honestly.
Well, I like
it's all upside, but I would wait and because of the situation, I will wait and let it be his decision, because I still believe that a man is the leader. So, but he already knows how I feel. And I even said one day to him, and we've had this conversation, if he were to become divorced. Now he is a one woman's man. I know it's crazy out here in these streets, and you got men sleeping with people and all this other stuff, and they'll risk their home, their life. That's not him. Real man. That's not this guy. So he's not going to wreck his home, and neither am I coming against his home. Like I said, we've known each other almost 30 years. So knowing that and respecting that, I would lean on him and follow his lead if there was a future between the two of us in a post-divorce or post-death situation. But I would not allow my life to not have the love that it would deserve, trying to be ego-driven that I can't be with him because, of his wife. Why would I let some other woman scoop in on a man that I know that for all intents and purposes, we could be great together. Not good together, great together. And I would want to live out the days we have remaining happy. So why would I want to toss it up with, oh Lord, I think I could wait another 2 years for this man that I've never met and seen before in my life before. So
no, it's no time for those games.
Listen, it's life or death out here in these relationships. So you do not want to play yourself, if we can put it that way.
That's right.
By saying you have all this time. Look, take it from me. I am 46. I have been divorced for 13 years almost in my recent one. And it's just not my time. But when it's my turn, I'm going to take it.
When it's your next turn. And that's what they're going to say. We have certain things that happen in life. And you saw emotional, again, I call it emotional opportunity cost. EOC. And that's our word of advice for you. Erica, it's about that time. Let them know what's going on next week. What our listeners and viewers getting ready to look forward to.
Absolutely. While we will love and we will most likely come back with a part 2 of the
Absolutely.
life after the one who got away. Next week, we are delving into dating abroad, passport bros and chicks. We really got them going with the South African.
So they want it back. They wanted that back.
Yeah, we're running it
Right.
back, but we're talking exclusively about dating abroad next week. So join us next Sunday, February 25th for Dating Abroad, Passport Bros and Chicks. Any final words for life after the one who got away? Our co-host, the real Jabril.
You said any what?
Any final closing words on the life after the one who got away?
Oh, absolutely. It's not it's not that you let them person get away. You got away from what you really believed in. The best version of you is to eliminate your ego, your emotions, what other people are going to think, even what you're going to think about you. Because when you go for hitting your best shot, it's no better feeling than that. Go at it big. Go at it strong. Because if you don't, guess what? Somebody else will. That's all I got to say. It's true. It's true. Takesha knows that there are people that even have come to her and said, you know what? I slept on them. I didn't know. Or they had me on a time zone that I didn't know. I didn't even know they liked me. And they had this plan for me that I didn't even know about. They wanted me to do these certain steps, and they wanted to see me have a certain amount or achieve a certain amount of things till they stepped in and stepped up. That's not what happened with Keisha. As I told you, she said 3 words and it really stuck. And she put her ego, and you know how she is.
I need you.
That's right. You know those words. That's right. That's all you got to do. And look how you living now. Look at the life. Humble
You know
yourself.
much power as a woman that takes to say the words, I need you. I can pretty much tell you that I have rarely ever said that in any relationship, let alone in life. But when you are really at your lowest of like, you
She had nothing to lose.
recognize that that's what it is. I need you. Genuinely, that's the statement.
It's better than I hate for men, because sex is common. People saying love loosely is common. But the vulnerability of saying I need you is different. It's a different level. Because you could say I love you. I could say that right now. I love you. That's going to make you say, thanks, I love you too. But if I say I need you to work with me on this podcast, what you do as the matters. What do we need to do to make sure that we can keep doing that? That's bigger. That's bigger than everybody listening. That if we have that communication together, that pushes me to stay. So in all relationships, just saying that for the man especially, it helps them. It helps them push forward, because if they don't know their value, you think it's always the woman. The men need to be reassured no matter what they're doing, especially if they have the ego or they have that pride that if I put my name on this podcast or whatever I do, I want to make sure it's serving. And I asked you that the other day, because we all are going through things, health things and other things. So what is really necessary? But if it's something that's a need for the people, despite of what I'm going through, which could really save my life if I hone in and focus, then it works, because the people will pray for you in that time of need because of the life that you're giving to them. And I truly believe that. So yes, we have some health challenges going on, and men need women just as much as it's in the Bible. This is not made up. This is not a cliche. So don't ever think moving forward, you know your value besides your assets, Erica and ladies, that with your heart and you being transparent, that's what the man needs first and foremost. I promise you. Because you will see a man pick someone over you and you have the resume, because it's not really about that. It really isn't. This is the secret. So truthfully, that is the ego. When you feel that you have to stack up those things because you think that that's what the man wants, that's what you want. That's what you need to feel but it just doesn't work. That's not how guys operate. That's not how he thinks. Because most men want to protect, and the type of man you're going to want is going to want to do more anyway. So how are you going to have more and do? It won't last. It's no competition with that. So that's a competition within yourself. And a lot of women who are independent, I think we had another series that talked about an episode about that woman, the superwoman, or what, I forgot what the name exactly was, but that you got to get out of your way, ladies. We got to get out of our way. It's let the man be the man and love you the way you deserve to be loved and need you the way he needs. I hope that helped. I hope that helps someone.
No, it does. Let him use you.
Let him, because you're complimenting him. You're not trying to show him everything you have and what you can do. Men don't really care about that. It's impressive for a moment. Just like when a man tries to impress you with a car, you might think the car is nice, but it's just a car. What about his soul? A car or hearing that young man talk to his son? Which one would you remember?
Well, that son, that conversation.
That's
And
right.
that has been so many years, and
Right.
even more special now that his son passed.
Right.
You
So
know?
I won't go too deep, but remember in one of your other relationships, the people kept you outside of the children. He intimately let you hear that and included you as if you were there. That's priceless. Forget about a car, forget about a house, forget about flowers or whatever. This is the soul. He's giving you his soul that most people will never get to ride into that situation. And that's why you've never forgotten it.
All right.
And not everybody got to hear about his son. You experienced it. So that's a bond that you have. So look, you better watch your telltale signs. Be ready. Be ready, because you never know. You never know. And my grandparents, my grandfather had left my grandmother. I'm just going to say this and end with it. And it took 50 years. He married someone else. My grandmother helped send him to school to get his medical degree. She never finished college. Then he left my grandmother. Already had 2 children, my late uncle and my mother. Refused to say who they were, to claim them, but went on and married this other lady. And that lady was a school teacher. The lady passed away after 50 years. I mean, I thank God for it because I got to grow up with my grandmother and she helped me be the man that I am today. But after 50 years, he had to let go. And my grandmother had to as well. And he asked my grandmother, could he come and take care of her? She went down, they remarried. And before both of them passed, they were together after 50 years.
Wow.
So if she can do it, if they can do it. And remember, my grandfather's family was against my grandma for years. That's forgiveness. That's letting go of ego and saying, what is right? What is mine? And my grandfather had to admit he was wrong. And they went together, got married, remarried. All right. Telling you, it's real. It can happen at any time. Grandfather be 103. My grandmother lived to be over 95. She passed first, but my grandfather was almost on 103. He was old. So that's hope. Hope that it helped. Again, it set you, but we're going to definitely talk about this again. But before you let the person get away, you got to get out of your own way.
Absolutely. Those are facts. So join us next week, Dating Abroad. We will see you soon. Have a great night.
Thanks again, Erica.